Hey, this is Mick Wingert, and you're watching In Conversation with Amber the Fangirl. Avengers, assemble.
Hi guys, Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. My guest today is one I've met in real life before, and I finally managed to snag him for my show. He is a voice actor. He's best known for being the voice of Po in Kung Fu Panda, Legends of Awesomeness, the TV show, Slappy in Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween, Iron Man in various Marvel media, so like Avengers Assemble and What If and everything along those lines. Face in Voltron Legendary Defender. Did I say his name? Yeah.
That's correct, yeah. Nice job.
Thank you. And Heimerdinger in Arcane. That's how they advertised it at Wales Comic Con. It was a picture of Heimerdinger.
Yeah.
Indeed. And you're Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan, the video game. You're also in the Fresh Beat Band of Spies, and
I am.
Yeah. I grew up with the live action Fresh Beat Band, not like the cartoons that came out like years later. And my guest is also the voice of the Joker in Batwheels. My guest,
surprise,
is Mick Wingert. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Amber, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a joy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's a joy to finally meet you virtually as well, because I know we met in person, as I said,
yes.
at Telford, also where I met Kevin Conroy and Will Friedle. Did you meet them at the event?
Oh, yeah. You know, I have to tell you, like, I fanned out as much as any of the convention goers when I met Kevin Conroy, because you know, I was just out of high school going into college age when, well, I should say mid-high school, actually, because it was 1989. So I was mid-high school when Batman the Animated Series came out, and that show was formative on me and a whole generation of us, and showed us that as we got older, there were people willing to make animated properties or cartoons that we would want to see. And yeah, Kevin Conroy's Batman, Mark Hamill's Joker, I was telling you before we started recording, like, they are the consummate versions of those characters for me. So even more so than anyone I've seen on screen, you know, I think the voice work that went into those performances is so stellar. I mean, the whole cast. The fact that, like, if it wasn't the first, it was at least the second episode. I think it was first, though. Heart of Ice, that was the first time in an animated property that you saw a villain that had complexity. That was the Mr. Freeze origin episode, where you find out that Mr. Freeze was trying to save his wife Nora, and then, you know, because it all goes bad, and Roland Daggett's involvement, and the way that Paul Dini wrote that episode made our first exposure, at least again in a cartoon medium, to a sympathetic villain, and that was incredible. I mean, I remember watching that the first time and almost going to tears as the credits closed on, or the scene closed on Mr. Freeze in jail with his little snow globe. Like, spoiler alert for 30 years ago. But yeah, like, that snow globe in his hand, and just like, oh, that poor man. Sure, he didn't make good choices about it, but man, I can see, like, the sadness there. And that was really important for audiences at that time, because everything else, you know, action show wise, unless we were watching anime, which you had to get on like VHS cassette at the time, maybe DVD, but no, 89, it was still VHS cassette. Like, you had to go to conventions and you had to know people to watch anime. You couldn't just get on Crunchyroll. You couldn't just get on Viz Media or Funimation or YouTube and find it.
Crunchyroll.
You had to have, like, connections and go to cons and meet people and trade tapes and stuff. So unless you were doing that, you had never seen a cartoon that was made for mature audiences, except maybe a couple of things that Ralph Bakshi made in the 70s and 80s, and those were so for adults that you most likely didn't see them, unless your parents truly didn't care about you. So, you know, to see something that mature in Batman the Animated Series, incredible. Like, it blew us all away. Anyway, back to Batwheels. I think Hamill's take on the Joker, even Conroy's take on Batman is really going to inform some of the sensibility of this show. There's just some iconic things about Batman, about the Joker that were formulated back in '89, and we are happy to jump in and carry those torches. I was telling you earlier, like my version of the Joker, because it is for young children, for a preschool audience, he's more the merry prankster. He's much more the clown prince of crime, almost closer to like a Cesar Romero from 1966 than he is Mark Hamill's, dark, sinister take on the Joker as a psychotic.
Yeah.
So that actually makes it fun. Not that I wouldn't love playing as psychotic. That's super fun too. But there is some fun to just be the guy that's like dancing in the street and throwing, booby traps and making clown puns and stuff. It's really fun. It's a really fun role. But I geeked out when I met Kevin Conroy. Like I
Aw.
was like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm your peer. Yeah, of course, yes, I'm a voice actor. Too. Yeah, nice to meet you. Oh, Mr. Conroy, you're the best ever. It
Had
was
you
crazy. It was kind of crazy backstage.
had you
There
ever
was a
worked
lot
with
of
him
people there.
before?
What's that?
Had you ever have you before this? Had you ever worked with Kevin before?
I'd never worked with him before, but I will say this. Here's a little bit of trivia. Like the very first, pop culture convention I ever went to as an attendee
Uh-huh.
before I ever got in the industry was in 2003, and that
Yeah, before I
was
was born.
right before you were born. And look what's happened since. I'm so glad I went to that convention. But I went in 2003, and back then, I mean,
I
it
was
still
just
happens today, but there's such. What's that?
I was just gonna say that for you, like you went from an attendee and then you become a voice actor. For me, I
Yeah.
literally started out as as a little embryo, and now here I am.
And here you are.
20 years later, well, nearly 20 years
Yes, exactly.
later. Next year.
And as when I went as an attendee, one of the first autographs I ever got was Kevin Conroy. There was like
Oh,
an animation or an art gallery that dealt in animation cells, and they had him and Tara Strong and Adrienne Barbeau.
love Tara.
Um,
One of my best
yeah,
friends.
Tara's great.
Yeah.
And a couple of others that were there from Batman the Animated Series, just doing as so they were convention guests, obviously, but they were brought in by a vendor. They weren't brought in by the con, and they were signing autographs for people who were willing to stand in line for this vendor and walk through their thing. So I got his was one of the first autographs I ever got.
Did you bring
And
up that you met him at Wales? Like you met him back then?
and then I met him in Wales almost 20 years later, about
Does he remember
19
it?
years later. He doesn't remember because
Oh.
for him I was just another attendee. I was just another fat kid in a Wonder Woman tiara because they were giving these paper Wonder Woman tiaras away at the DC booth. And I was just being silly, so I had it on. So I'm sure he didn't
Oh.
remember me. I was just another fan. But for me, it was seminal, right? I got his auto. I got Tara's. I got Adrienne Barbeau's. It was super fun. Yeah, I couldn't be happier.
Oh, that's a lovely story, that. And I
Yeah.
presume at Wales you couldn't tell him because of the NDAs that you were the Joker in
I
Batwheels.
could not. I
Um,
wanted to, but I couldn't.
well, hopefully he's seen it out there right now. But
Yeah,
we can finally talk about it. So without revealing too much, because I know you can't do like any of the voices from the cartoon because
of
of
course.
reasons. What can you tell us about the show? What is it about and who's in it?
It's really it's a fun take. It's definitely designed for preschoolers, so it's aiming at a younger audience, but the writing team's doing a pretty good job of trying to keep it hip and funny enough to engage parents who are watching with their kids, and so it might get some good crossover viewership. We've got, the premise is Batman's vehicles come to life and they have personalities of their own. And they have a little origin story about how that happens. But in this world, Batman's the greatest detective in the world, according to DC Comics. So he'll eventually find out, I'm sure. But at this point, the humans don't know that some of these vehicles have come to life. There are actually regular cars in the world, and then there are the Batwheels. Well, there is also League of Villains, and all the villains have vehicles, and the vehicles are called the Legion of Zoom, which is
Ooh.
kind of a play on obviously the Legion of Doom, but because they're vehicles and they move. Needless to say, it's a super fun thing where the heroes of the show are the cars. So you've got the Batmobile, whose nickname is Bam. You've got the Batgirl's bike, or BB. You've got Redbird, which is like a little coupe that Robin would drive, because Robin is a teenager in this show. I think he's 16 plus. And you've got the Bat Truck, which is like this big, almost monster trucky looking high suspension truck, and his name is Buff. And then you've got Batwing, the classic bat shaped airplane thing. And each of these characters has their own personality. They all go on adventures, usually as a team, sometimes as individuals. We're introducing other known entities from the DC universe to do some crossover. It's super fun. It's going to be a fun show.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. Well, I'm just having a look at the cast members for Batwheels, and what a stellar cast it's got. Let's see who's in it. Let's have a look. So far we have Ethan Hawke as Batman, Jacob Bertrand as Bam the Bat. Speaking of Jacob Bertrand, I met him at Liverpool Comic Con and I gave him his first Bam the Batmobile fan art, and he was over the moon.
I love that. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Good for you and good for him. I'm sure he enjoyed that.
He did. He said it was just. He said no one else at the convention brought up Batwheels, so he was very.
I love it.
So I was like,
I love it.
He was part with all the Cobra Kai the cast members as well.
Of course.
Who else? There was. I'm trying to remember who else. I'm trying to find the full voice cast. Is it Cobra Kai's solo Mari Duena? He was meant to be at Liverpool, but unfortunately he had to cancel. I don't know why, but he wasn't there. But if he was, I would have done a drawing of what's it? I don't know what his vehicle's called. I have to have a look. So yeah, there's Bam, there's Redbird, who's voiced by Jordan Reed. BB.
Does he play Quiz? Is he the helicopter?
I think he is.
Zolo Quiz, or he's either Quiz or Ducky. Ducky's the penguin, giant rubber duck boat.
I think so. Let's have a look. BB, Batgirl, Cycle, Madigan, Kakmar.
So here's a little bit of trivia. Madigan is actually the daughter of voice actress Erica Schroeder, who you might know from various anime properties and other animation things. Erica has a very, very prolific VA career. So her daughter's now getting into voice acting, and when we actually had a table read for the first 2 scripts of the Batwheels series, and I got to see on Zoom. I got to see Tom Kenny and James Arnold Taylor and Madigan and Noah Bentley, who's Buff, and Jacob, who is Bam, along with our executive producer and writer.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Fun. Yeah.
Wow.
So Erica's her mom, so she's been brought up well when it comes to voice acting talent. I can't wait for her big debut here on Batwheels.
Well, I've noticed a lot of things lately. A lot of voice actors' children becoming famous, because I know Grady Lyle's children have been voice actors. Carlos Alazraki's daughter Riley is Rok-Tahk in Star Trek Prodigy. Josh Keaton's children have done bits and bobs of voice acting and stuff, and it seems to just run in the family. I believe it's really cool. It's like they're the key to the gateway of being a voice actor, and I think it's really cool. So team with the cast, we have Buff, the Bat Truck, Noah Bentley, Jet, Batwing, Liliwa Hernandez, the Bat Computer, Kimberly Brooks, Mo,
me,
you, Mick Wingert. It's you, Mick. Prank, Griffin Burns, who is the Joker's vehicle. Jetstar, Alexandra Novell. Quiz, Josie Montana McCoy. Ducky, Ariane Kassam. Snowy, that's his Snowy.
He's Snowy. Zolo is Snowy. That's Mr. Freeze's Freeze's vehicle.
And the Bad Computer is Sungwon Cho, who I know from YouTube and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
Who else is there? Crash, Tom Kenny. Batman, Ethan Hawke. They're using the Duke Thomas Batman, AJ Hudson, Batgirl, Leah Lewis, Joker. It's you, Mick.
Here I am.
I love his design. It's so unique. I love like his hair. It's like a sort of like spearmint, like kind of like turquoise bluish. It's really
I
good.
I love it too. It's really fun. They went ahead and gave him this like red rosy dot on his nose, almost like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of a vibe. And I'm usually a purist. Like my favorite Joker is the one that Brian Boland drew for The Killing Joke, which is of course sheer white face, bright red lips, bright green hair, purple, orange, and black, and all of that stuff. Awesome. But I love this character design because it fits, I think, so well for the world. And again, because they are going for more of a fun prankster vibe on the Joker. Gosh, their character design blows me away. And in fact, they were thinking about doing even more differences to make him a little more, I guess, youthful. But they were like, we can't get away too much from the classic look, so we're going to still keep him in a coat and tails, and we might give him some high top sneakers, but we're still going to have him in like slack pants and colorful vest, and yeah, I think they did a great job, and their version of Harley is great. And I was telling you earlier, like
Yeah.
Chandni, who plays
Shodney Parek, is that how you pronounce
Parekh,
it?
I believe.
Parek, yeah. She voices
She is
Harley.
she not only is playing Harley, but this is one of the wonderful things about being a voiceover coach is I get to work with my students. She took a voiceover class from me, I want to say 3 years ago.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, she came in, we did animation class. She was part of a group that met. There's a couple of photos online of us in that class. And to have it come together and now not just be in the same show, but for her to be Harley to my Joker is just a really nice bookend to that,
That's
right? It's just
lovely.
lovely symmetry.
I'll have to interview her as well, and Madigan as well. You've inspired me, and Jacob as well. Yeah, they'll have to come on my show. They're gonna have a blast. I tell you that. Who else is there? There's Catwoman, Gina Rodriguez. I can't ever pronounce that last name. Rodriguez. Rodriguez. There we go.
You got it.
In the end, I know her as well.
You can be taught. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Thank you, Mick. Who else is there? The Riddler, who's voiced by Sung-Won Cho.
Mhm.
The Penguin, Jess Harnell. Mr. Freeze, Reggie Davis, and the Toyman, James Arnold Taylor. I hope to get Tom Kenny, as you said before, Jess and James on my show. I think you just spawned out a whole new list for me of people to invite onto my show. So
I love it. Just by going down the Batwheels cast. Well,
yeah.
if you need somebody to put in a good word, I'm happy to do it. You're a gracious host, and I'm enjoying myself so far. So
wonderful. And also, I think Jacob would be easier because I'm the one who gave you the BAM fan art. I mean, to be fair, it's a preschool show. I'm nearly 19. I'm gonna watch it. No one's stopping me.
I love it. Hopefully you will not be disappointed. That's our goal. Everybody's working really hard not to disappoint fans and to also create a new property that young kids will love. I mean, for a generation of kids, should this show prove as good as we think it is, for a generation of kids, this will be their first Batman. Like, this will be their introduction to the character. So they'll rave about it the way I rave about the animated series.
You were so happy on Twitter.
And
you were like, Mick
that's our hope, as it launches, that this will introduce a generation of kids to a version of this character that they can just kind of, or this world that they can kind of fall in love with and remember fondly.
You were so happy on Twitter. You changed your name to Mick Wingert is the Joker in Batwheels, and you were just so happy, and you've dressed up as the Joker, and that's just so adorable. And with you working with Shandy, that is just even cuter.
Right? It's like totes adorbs.
Literally just you gushing on Twitter, and you're like, this is like a dream come true, with like in these pictures of you as a child dressed up as the Joker. That just made my heart swell up with love.
Oh, good.
I was so happy.
I mean, that's what I was feeling when I got the call from my agent. Hey, guess what? You booked the Joker in Batwheels. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And that was super. It was like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It was such an
Me too.
amazing call. And then I found out afterwards that I booked Mo as well. And they're having me do double duty because they liked what I was bringing to the party. I mean, it's Warner Brothers. They have their pick of the litter. And I know I was up against, every name in Hollywood, including Tom Kenny, James Arnold Taylor, some of the people who made it into the cast in other roles. And
Wow.
to be able to say, I got this one, was just like put a song in my heart. I break out singing, but I don't want to traumatize your audience.
Oh, I'm sure everything will be okay. Oh, I'm getting so many emails. Let me just close that off. I keep getting it's like bing, 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 just like emails and stuff, and I'm like, it's all these interview requests coming and stuff. I booked another one yesterday. I there's one coming with him at the end of the summer. You didn't hear that from me.
I think the whole world just heard it from you.
Yeah, I was like yesterday, I got an email because actually I spoke to Hal Rell yesterday, who worked on the original Batman animated series, and he has a thing. It was from the cover of Variety in 1992, and it was a big list, and it said, a thank you to all the voiceover artists who brought the city of Gotham to life. And it's just all the voice actors from it in alphabetical order. And just to think, it's like Kevin Conroy. Who voices Alfred? I can't remember. Is it his name's like Ephraim or something?
Ephraim. I can't remember. I can't remember the guy's name.
I'm about to have to Google it now. You've just inspired me. Oh man,
there were actually two actors ended up playing.
Clive Revel was the first one.
Clive Revel.
He did it in the first 3 episodes, and then for some reason,
then Ephraim took it over.
Ephraim.
Ephraim, sorry. Zimbalist. Yes, thank you for that.
Jr. Yeah, he was on it, and Arlene Sorkin, and Mark Hamill, and I was like, oh my god! And to be fair, that was actually the first time I ever cried in an interview. I've never cried on camera, and just seeing that, it actually made me start crying. It's Hal's listed on it as well. I just started crying my eyes out because of how beautiful it was. It was. Yeah. I'll have to try and get you a copy of it. I
would love to see that. Yeah.
If Hal can send it me, because I think he said something about it being just on the wall or in storage. Right. So I can't remember. But yeah, that brings us to the end of Batman discussion. Good night, everybody. Yeah, okay. Oh man, that was a whirlwind. So I'd like to talk to you about Kung Fu Panda. Now, you met Jack Black.
Finally, 14 years later, I met Jack. Yeah.
What was it like to meet him?
It was a little surreal. I have to say I was nervous. I mean, I'm the guy that's, doing him for a living, and you never know how somebody's gonna take to that. Some people are super flattered by it. Some people are impressed at how good you are at sounding like them. Some people are unimpressed, like, yeah, well, whatever. And that was not Jack at all. He was super kind. He was gracious. He had already said very kind words about my performance as Poe, as Poe, obviously, via the show director and the casting coordinator. Messages had gotten already back to me of how complimentary Jack had been about my performance. We met at a screening for the upcoming Kung Fu Panda Dragon Knight, which is going to drop this summer. That has been announced. I booked a role of my own on the show, which I'm not allowed to disclose at this point, but
I'm presuming Jack is Poe.
And Jack is returning as Poe. His first time in an episodic as Poe. So he was there for the premiere. Everybody, of course, cast, crew. He was there to do a solid for the whole team and let them get photos for kids and let them meet. Because, he's got star power. Jack is a global level celebrity. So for the cast and crew who's working on the show, when you work in episodic television animation, you don't often get to meet the top tier talent when they're involved. I don't know. I have friends who worked on Monsters at Work, and I don't know if anybody met. I love that show. I'm not sure if anybody met John and or Billy Crystal, John Goodman and Billy Crystal outside of the booth. I know they were brought in to reprise their roles, but I don't know if animators, storyboard artists, all the people that put the show together got a chance to shake hands with them. But Jack, to his credit, showed up at this premiere, shook hands with everybody, took selfies with everybody, like let us all kind of fawn all over him, and helped kick off the show, said some very kind words in general, and then was on his way. But man, what to go out of your way as somebody of that size notoriety, that well known, to go out of your way to say hi and glad hand with the casting crew. It was impressive, because not everybody does that.
No.
So, there were dozens of people, not hundreds, but there were dozens of people that wanted to meet with Jack. So I made a quick intro, thanked him for doing, fun stuff. And, as I said online, like, I'm just grateful to be part of this legacy.
I've just had to listen to the pronunciation. It's Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
Ah, very
Ephraim.
good.
Yeah, I constantly mispronounce names in my interviews, and I feel so awful for doing so. You're like, why didn't you look it up before the interview? Well, I didn't know I was going to bring their name up, but I just say in any combination and form, and just say if it's any one of those, that's okay. If not, I'm sorry. Speaking of names, I presume you're sometimes asked if you're related to Wally Wingert. Is that true? It says on Wikipedia.
That's for me to know and you to find out.
It says on Wikipedia you're not related, but
unfortunately, we're not related. Although I did just find out, and I posted this on Twitter, I did just find out that we have both voiced MODOK for Marvel Animation at various times. So we've played the same character.
Wow!
I voiced MODOK for Marvel Future Avengers, which was a dubbing project. And at the time, the typical animated version of MODOK that was a go-to for Marvel Animation was portrayed by Charlie Adler, and Charlie wasn't available for this dubbing project. So they're like, "Can you do MODOK?" And I'm like, "I think I can do MODOK," and did the whole thing. But again, it's for one property. But it was still kind of fun to see my name and Wally's on the list. We are not related. Not that I know of. There aren't a lot of Wingerts in the world, but there are a few branches of the family I've come to find out. I still haven't done a deep dive on ancestry yet, but so there might be some distant relation that ties our family branches together, but there's it's not like he's my uncle or my cousin or anything like. There's no direct relation there that I know of. I admire him, and his work is fantastic. In fact, when I first came to Hollywood, he was definitely well established, and so I toyed for 2 seconds. I toyed with making my website name theotherwingert.com. But I decided, for longevity's sake, let's just brand it with your name and call it that. But I think it would have been clever. It would have been clever to be theotherwingert.com.
Yeah, just listen to your MODOK voice. It sounds like Starscream, who Charlie Adler has also voiced. I think you'd make a good Starscream from Transformers.
Thank you. I would love to play Starscream.
Oh,
it's all that Chris Latta stuff, right?
Chris Latta, and then
the
Steve
late
Bloom
Chris
and
Latta.
Prime.
I think on my demo right now I have a little line I wrote for a Cobra Commander archetype. And because I wanted to demonstrate I can do that, like, Destro, you are not paid to think, or something like that.
Oh my god, you sound exactly like Chris. And then Steve Bloom came along for Transformers Prime and sort of did it a bit deeper.
Right, he did it. I don't. After I do the Chris, I can't do that. I can't do the Steve, which is down here.
Have you ever done one of his classes, as a guest?
I've never been a guest for Steve, not as of yet, but I'm dying to work together with him.
Wow!
We've worked together on shows, but I'd love to work together with him as an educator. I love who he is, and I love what he puts down and puts out there in the world for voice actors. And so, yeah, if you're watching, Steve, hit me up, dude. You have my info.
And you can come on my show as well. Also, I love your shirt. I don't know what your shirt is, but it's got all stars on it. What's your shirt? What's your shirt?
Oh, my shirt. Speaking of Chris Latta, I mean, it's really horribly faded right now, but
wait,
let's see if I can
stand
up and give you a look. This is not Super Friends, but Super Fiends.
Super Fiends. Wow.
We've got Mumra, Shredder. We've got Skeletor, Megatron,
so cool.
and Cobra Commander down front.
That's so cool. Wait, who's next to Megatron again on the?
Let's see. Next to Megatron
I know that Shredder from
is
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
Skeletor
So
from
that's
He-Man,
Cobra Commander. That's
Red Ranger
Megatron. That's
GOG.
Skeletor. There's nobody back here. Just again. This is horribly faded. I've had this shirt for years now, but
Oh.
Cobra Commander, Megatron, Skeletor, Mum-Ra, Shredder.
Mumra, where's he from?
Oh, you don't know where Mum-Ra's from? That's from the Thundercats.
Oh, Thundercats. All right. Oh, I don't know much about Thundercats. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I'm shocked though with the depth of knowledge you have of animated material from all different eras, girl. I'm so shocked that you don't know. I'm not disappointed.
I'm more
Like
into the voice actors, and
we can't know everything.
I didn't
but
recognize any voice actors from not voice cats, Thundercats, voice cats. That would be a really cool company name, though.
Voice Cats.
Voice cats.
That's my voice actor social network. Go to voicecats.com. Don't go there because there's nobody there. There's not even a website.
Might as well just start up voiceover classes.
Mm-hmm.
Making me want to do it now. Oh, I'm gonna start all voiceover classes, even though I'm just a little newbie in the business.
Amber the Fangirl presents Voice Cats.
Voice Cats. Amber the Voice Cat. That's my first voiceover job. Helly the helicopter for Northern Leisure kiddie rides. Just before the pandemic. Unfortunately.
You did this role professionally.
Yeah. Here.
Congratulations. That I didn't know.
There's me and Tara there. Recorded all lines in here in my bedroom. It was just a simple favor because I was good friends with the company. I filmed these little coin-operated rides for YouTube. So I did that. Only 2 models were made because of COVID, and because of COVID, the whole company folded.
Oh.
So I was the voice of the last ever ride. What a way to go out! What a way to go out in style!
Yeah, right. Agreed.
They did say they wanted to go out with a bang.
You managed it.
Yeah, and I've just had a voice role booked for a theme park ride. I play a magical magician rabbit called Prestella, and she sort of talks a bit like that. They love
she's
to
very proper.
She's proper.
Like
they asked me to pick up the Wendy Darling for Peter Pan, so I was like, oh yes, I've just got to do Catherine Belmont, and then I'm fine.
I love it.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm wondering. I know there's a union for actors in America, which is SAG. Mm-hmm. Is there any limitations on joining it? So, for example, if I'm an established voice actress in the UK, would I be able to join SAG, or would I not be able to?
Well, as far as I know, SAG is a union with it's definitely a nationwide presence, but I don't know if it's global. What I will say is every nation has its own.
We have equity in the UK.
Yeah, on performers unions. My understanding is that if you are going to work in the States, or if you're going to work on a project that's managed by a SAG-AFTRA contract, there are ways to get in. It was years ago that I got in, and this was back when SAG and AFTRA were 2 unions, and you'd kind of game the system because AFTRA was what they called an open union. Anybody could plunk down their money and join at any time. And SAG is what they call a closed union, whereas
Screen
you have to work
Actors Guild.
A couple of contracts for SAG, and then you can join. But there's a sister union clause. So folks who are members of Equity or Actors Equity here in the States, which is the Stage Actors Union, ACTRA, which is the Canadian Voice Actors and Actors Union up in Canada, Equity in
what about AFTRA
Britain?
in America, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists?
So those AFTRA actually merged with SAG, so they are one union now.
Yeah,
so
I believe you said that.
I joined AFTRA. It merged with SAG, and so I joined AFTRA, then I qualified to join SAG and through the sister union clause, and then the unions eventually merged.
Then they became one big happy family together forever.
Needless to say, if somebody wanted you on a U.S. animation project, there are ways to get you into being able to work that contract. And it's even easier if you're already a member of Equity in Britain, because there are sister union clauses in the bylaws of all the unions that try to work together, so that if you're a member in good standing for, say, a year or 2 years, I'm not sure what the term is for British Equity.
I don't know either. Well, I think
you can look that up. You can look that up, and then find out how long you have to be a member in good standing before you can join SAG-AFTRA.
I should know. I did a bit of research on it for my college essay. Yeah, I studied performing arts. I
Interesting.
studied it for 2 years at college. So
Oh,
there's
very
that.
nice. So, what I would say for yourself as well as for anybody that is in your viewership and watching this interview is if you are interested in voiceover and you do want to work in stuff that's made in the United States, what's more important than your union membership, though that's important, what's more important is your visa status. There's you've got to have that type 1 visa, I think is what it's called. I had somebody asking me about this from the UK, and there's a work visa you have to have in order to do work in order to make money in the United States as a foreign national. So that if you're going to spend money and time and energy on anything, that's what you want to get. You want to spend your money and your research time trying to get that the appropriate work visa, because once you do that, then the doors start to open up, and then you can consider union membership and all those other things.
That sounds like some good advice, Mick. I will definitely take it
You're welcome.
with stride. When they say take it with a pinch of salt, does that mean take it like literally or?
A pinch of salt, to my understanding, has always meant I'll take it kind of like it might be true.
Well, I'll take it. It's all true.
Take it in good faith. There you go.
I'll take it with
take
stride.
Something in good faith. It's like, oh, I believe it's true.
I'll take it in stride. Yeah,
in stride.
baby. I'd like to talk to you about Arcane now.
Oh,
Heimerdinger. So what's it like being, because I know everyone's heard this song. I'm not sure, is it the theme song Enemy by Imagine Dragons?
Yeah. Yep.
Love that song, and just thinking of all you guys in it, like Fred Tatasciore and you and many others. Wow, what's it like to work on such a big animated show, and how did it become this big?
It's one of the highlights of my career, I have to say. And it's not just because it's a big popular show. Like, I was blown away when I saw it. The animation that Fortiche put together, the writing that Christian and Alex did, the two executive producers / head writers of the show, their story concepts, the way that they took these characters and made them accessible to an audience that may not even play League of Legends. It's just good storytelling and compelling relationships and beautiful animation and top-notch. It's just top-notch storytelling from top to bottom. And so for me, like,
and a good soundtrack too.
I mean, yeah, right? It's all so professional. It's just so incredible to be a part of that legacy. It's kind of humbling because I'm thinking, wow, what if some of the other projects I've done are going to live forever? Like, for example, I loved doing Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness, which we did for 3 seasons on Nickelodeon in partnership with DreamWorks, and that's probably going to live a long time. People are still watching that on Nicktoons and other places wherever Nick can get money made on it. But I don't think that will have the lasting cultural impact as Arcane does. And Arcane is 9 episodes long so far. They've announced a season 2, but in 80 episodes for one kid's show, as fun as it was and as great an experience as it was, it won't impact the culture the way Arcane has already with 9 episodes. So that's what's humbling. That's what I mean. Like, being a part of that it's like a little mind-blowing. Like, people around the world have heard my voice work, not just in a kid's show, but as part of their adult entertainment, as part of their mature entertainment, and have believed a character that I've created. What was very cool, and I've said this in other interviews, but I don't mind repeating it if your audience will bear with me, like, the biggest compliment that I could have gotten, I've already received, and that is that, like, they weren't sure if they were going to even put Heimer in the show because he is a Yordle, and those characters are a little too fantastic for the grounded, real-world quality they were going for, again, for this adult-style storytelling. So they weren't sure they were going to do it because they needed to have the right actor that could do a credible Yordle voice, but also make him sound as though he was a very real person with very real feelings and
and a real worldview, and who really cared about people, and had a whole history behind him.
And to that end, I was very deeply complimented when the casting team told me that I had booked it, and I had booked it because they saw I could carry the moments of depth that Heimer had to have, and that was so not just flattering, but like that was so affirming. It was an affirmation. Wow, I really am in the right. I'm in the right um, career for me. I'm in the right place to be doing what I love to do, and I'm really I'd never seen myself, Amber. I'd never seen myself as a very good actor, which is why I ended up in cartoons. Now, I will tell anybody out there, yourself included, don't go into cartoons if you don't think you're a very good actor, because you have to be a really good actor, especially in this day and age. But when I moved down, it was in 2004, and
Yeah,
cartoons were
I was
still very much
born.
still just for kids. And not to demean any work that anybody's done. Again, I'll rave all day long about Batman the Animated Series, about Transformers, about the old GI Joe cartoon. Like, I think the actors involved are brilliant. And there was this cultural mindset at that time that it was about the voice, and you just had to have a certain skill set, and that's who did cartoons. It wasn't movie actors and TV actors. That was like two different standards, and I had fallen into that mindset, which is why I thought, oh, I'll just come down and do cartoons. That shouldn't be too hard. I'm good at showmanship. I'm good at entertaining an audience. So that's what I'll do. And then I got here, and even before the industry really started changing dramatically, which it has, even before that, I was realizing, oh my goodness, if I really want to do this, and I loved doing it, I really had to lean into that actor talent, right? If I was going to compete with folks like Neil Ross and Fred Tatasciore and John DiMaggio and, you know, Josh Keaton and so on and so forth, like I had to be an actor. So if I started there, booking Heimerdinger was kind of that pat on the back that said, you made it, kid. And that was really cool.
That's such a lovely story. Oh, I'm just moving these headphones to one side because, well, I'm gonna admit, me being autistic, I stim. All of us stim. We like either we flap our hands, we jump up and down, we spin
Mhm.
around and stuff. My stim is listening to music. So
Ah,
I got my
interesting.
headphones ready. Yeah, I get every
Oh,
time
very
something
good.
exciting happens, or if I've done something that's really cool, like if because I've spoken to you now, I'm like, okay, I'm on a buzz, I'm buzzing now, I'm on a high, I'm gonna listen to my favorite songs.
I
So
love it. I
I
love
do
it.
that. Oh yeah, because I met at Wales Comic Con, just real quick. Two questions. One, was that your first time visiting England?
It was. It was my
Oh,
very first trip to the
wow!
UK. Mm-hmm.
Nice one. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, good on the Wales Comic Con for getting so big that they outgrew the nation of Wales, or the
Yeah,
country of
it was
Wales.
too big
But
for Wrexham.
but I was a little disappointed I didn't get to go to Welsh territory. That we were in Telford. Though I will say
Shropshire.
the hospitality in Telford and surrounding areas was
To visit
phenomenal.
Shrewsbury, it's beautiful. I had a caravan there for about five
Beautiful,
years.
yeah. It was beautiful, and the people I met
Well,
in the
nearly
UK
10
were
years, yeah.
so kind, so kind.
Hello.
Yes, yourself included, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was lovely to see you over here, and it was just it's fabulous. They're doing it again in this December, and they've already got Bill Farmer and Jason Marsden for a Goofy movie reunion.
I love that. That's
I know
fantastic.
they get really good voice actors, definitely.
They
They
do.
had John DiMaggio last November. Yeah, they
Oh,
did,
very
and
cool.
they were gonna have Billy West back in April. He was announced, but he had to cancel. It would have been
Yeah.
cool to meet him though. Fred Tatasciore,
hmm
he was meant to do Liverpool last year, but he cancelled. But yeah, it's really cool. And I had a question, but it's completely gone out of my head. Oh no, I've just remembered it.
Good, good.
Okay, I've got to hold on to it. We talked about Frank Welker at the event, didn't we?
We did.
We did indeed. Did you meet him? I can't remember.
I did.
You
We, I
did.
was
I thought
I
so.
was on a I was think it was a Marvel project where we were all recording as a group. That's something that I really miss is
Oh
recording in a group.
yeah, he was in the video game. He was Odin, the big
hmm
the guy with the
Yeah.
horns, similar to Thor. That's him. Yes. Wow. Yeah, missing. Yeah, I. I miss. Why am I saying I miss? I've never taken part in one, but yeah, people do miss group recording sessions because you get to meet everyone and stuff.
It's so cool. I met Troy Baker. I met Roger Craig Smith. I met Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham. I met Tara Strong by
Have you
doing
met
group
Nolan
reads.
North?
I have not met Nolan yet.
Oh,
We've been at the same events. Yes, I have met Nolan, but I haven't had a chance to really like sit down and chat with Nolan. But I met Keith David. I've chatted with Keith David. Mark Hamill. I got a chance to meet Mark. He was Arnim Zola in the series finale of, or the season finale of Avengers for that season, and we were all doing a big group record, and I was in as Iron Man, and he was there as Arnim Zola, and it was so cool. And there's another guy who's really gracious. Like, we're all actors, but we all know Mark because, hello, Star Wars.
He needs to come. He needs to come to England. We need him over
Right?
there. I want to meet him. I'm going to cosplay.
So
the
everybody in
Joker.
the room was a fanboy at one point or another, or a fangirl at one point or another. So this poor guy, he comes for a job, right? He's here to play Arnim Zola. Everybody's getting along, but of course, you know, we're all asking for
Mark
selfies
Hamill!
after. Right. I got to get a picture with Mark Hamill. So, you know, he's so gracious, and he's just, yeah, of course. And, you know, he spent the next 10 minutes after the session or 20 minutes after the session just getting selfies with everybody. And it was super cool. It was super sweet.
He looks up to Frank Welker.
Yeah.
So cute. Like, he likes us back. It's so cool.
Yes. Frank is
Yeah.
the sweetest guy. And talk about somebody who, at least the way he carries himself in the booth, is like super humble. He's never going to be the guy that's, you know, that gets in your face and says, look, I've been doing this for 40 years. Give me a break. Like, that's just not Frank.
Apparently he has done something
Frank
like
is
that.
the guy that's like, oh, you want to do voiceover? No, that sounds great. Well, let's see what you got. Oh, that's great. Let's do it. Right? And then he'll do some weird like bird or creature sound to help, you know, sound effects coverage. And you're like, how did you get that sound out of your throat? That's incredible. How did you make that? Right? He'll do this like, you know, flapping bat wing, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't think the human voice could do that. And, you know, of course he can do that. He's Frank Welker. It's so cool to work with him and like Rob Paulson. And I don't know that Pat Fraley works a whole lot anymore. I know he still teaches, which is awesome.
Oh, Pat, he was one of the first people I interviewed.
He's wonderful. I love Pat. He's a very cool man.
I'll send you my interview with him in that case.
But those three guys in particular are part of that Michael Bell.
Love Michael.
You know, I'm trying to think of April Winchell, maybe.
I'm interviewing her next weekend.
Wonderful. They're a part of that group
spoiler,
of voice
spoiler
actors.
for those at home.
Oh, no. Don't tell anybody. Now you're gonna have to edit that. Anyway, they are a group of voice actors who kind of bridge the gap. They worked with Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler and some of the first people to ever do cartoon voiceover, and they're still working today, bringing up us in the next generation and beyond. So it's super cool to get to work with legends like that. Because they can tell you all. Neil Ross is another one. He can tell you all kinds of stories about the
first person I
industry.
ever interviewed.
Yeah.
Followed by Michael Bell. And what was I going to say? I was just about to say something. What was I going to say? People have said they would rather me say who I'm interviewing before I interview them, because and I know it's not much of a surprise, but at least they know, so they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Or if they've got a question, they can pass it along or something like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so it's easier that way. Oh, and I've just remembered as well. You know who Lindsay Russo is?
Of course I do.
She brought you up. I interviewed her like a few days before I went to Wales, and I said I was meeting you, and I forgot to bring her up at the event. But yeah, she says hi.
Oh, I love Lindsay. Lindsay is one of the peers that I work with a lot. I run an ongoing workout group just for working professionals. For people who want to, you know, they might have already established skill sets and be booking in certain areas, but they want to push themselves into other areas that they're not booking as much in, that kind of thing. Lindsay attends very faithfully. I'll probably see her later this afternoon.
Tell her you now.
I will.
You just didn't interview with Amber, the fangirl.
I will tell her that. And she also, like, she's been doing some wonderful things. One of my pet hobbies that I love to do in voice acting, and this one I just do for me, is I do some character work and some narration for the No Sleep podcast. which is a horror fiction podcast. And Lindsay has just started doing some of that as well. And they had her as the lead in a very big series. It was a multiple part story series. And
Transformers, War for Cybertron, Elita 1.
Crushed it. Well, that as well.
I think
I mean specifically on the No Sleep.
I thought you meant that
podcast.
Transformers was just the show. Sorry.
No. On No Sleep podcast, yes, she was that, and she crushes it on that. And then she also she got on this No Sleep podcast, and I got to work opposite her, as it were, and she just she crushes it. She was a huge fan favorite, playing a very beloved character. That was the first time it had been translated to audio, and she was the perfect cast. She's so good.
That's such kind words of you to say, Mick.
Yeah, well, I mean them.
Of course you do.
I'm a fan.
Yes, of course you are. Yes. My last question I'd like to ask you is going back to Fu Panda. I don't remember if I asked you this as well. I think I asked you, how did you get the role of? Well, I know I said you sounded like Jack Black, voice in post. I was like, I'm so happy you got it, but did you just simply audition for it, or were they looking for an exact sound alike?
They had been using another actor as a sound-alike for scratch tracking the first film, and something had come up. I don't know. I still to this day don't know the backstory of details, but whatever had come up, there was a door that was open where they wanted a new sound-alike for the video game, and my friend James Arnold Taylor was in the room auditioning, or was talking with Margaret Tang, who was the casting director of the video game at the time in 2008. And he said, I don't do Jack Black. I do a lot of voice match, but he's not one of them. But you should call Mick Wingert's agent, because he sounds just like him. And I bet he could cover this for you. And so they reached out to my agent. I'd never done a Jack Black impression in my life. But I got the call on a Thursday, and they said, DreamWorks wants you for an in-person audition on Monday to see if you can voice match this character. And I studied all weekend how to do Jack, and it was kind of hard because, if you get somebody with a really distinct voice, it's much easier to, watch somebody else's impression of them and pick up a few things, or just listen how different their sound is from yours. But when you're doing somebody's voice who actually sounds like you, it can, at least for me, it was very hard for me to differentiate when I was sounding like me and when I was sounding like Jack, and it was really frustrating. It wasn't like if I'm doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger, or actually, let's go Christopher Walken. If I'm doing Christopher Walken, I know that it's half of it is the accent of having lived in New York for as long as he has, and the other thing is, it's so different from how I talk that it's clear when I'm doing Walken and when I'm doing me.
Yeah.
Right? My Walken's not the best in town, but at least I know what I'm doing. But with Jack, he was so close to me. I'm like, I can't figure out how to stay consistently him and not just go into me. And I finally figured out it was an articulation issue. So he just forms his words differently than I do. But our pitch and our timbre, especially in 2008, was around the same. So I didn't have to do anything back here. I didn't have to change pitch or anything. I just had to form my words a little differently, talk a little differently, move my mouth, like my lips and my teeth, a little differently than I used to, and there you go. And that's how I eventually developed it. But I started with what I could grab onto, and the first thing I started with was just trying to do it with an underbite to see if that would make me sound more like him, and it did. So if you play the video game for Xbox 360 or PS2,
PS2 takes me back.
Right? Then you'll hear the world's worst Jack Black impression, the underbite Jack Black. But it was good enough to fool some folks, game reviewers at the time when they still reviewed franchise games like that. Game reviewers, actually, a few of them thought that Jack had done the game, so that's pretty cool. That was a sign of good things to come. And then from there were other projects and so on. And then I just kind of became the go-to guy.
That's really cool, Mick, definitely. And you finally got to meet him, and I'm so happy for you. And you did a really good impression. I remember a Kung Fu Panda game I used to play. It was like a sort of hula hooping game. You had to press like your keyboard keys and like time and you keep hula hooping. I'm not sure if you did the voice or if it was Jack Black or not. I'll have to try and dig up the game, see if I can find it online. Well, to be fair, I think it was a Flash game, so I don't think it would work anymore. But
Yeah,
because they stopped Flash Player at the end of 2020, I think. Yeah, I think it was the end of 2020. When did Flash? Or was it the end of 2019? When did Flash die? It's probably going to come up with at the end of 20. Oh, it was only at the end of 2020. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad day for us all. All childhood games just whoosh gone.
Just whoop gone.
Yeah. Bye, Mick. Where can we find you on social media?
I'm at Mick Wingert, all one word, on both Instagram and Twitter. I'm also available on Facebook. I believe it's the same thing, facebook.com/Mick Wingert. And that'll take you to my pro page, though I'm not there very much. I'm mostly on Insta and on Twitter under that handle. You can also check me out at mickwingert.com. And if you're interested in short form radio plays that are horror inspired, like The Twilight Zone, I have a podcast called The Hidden Frequencies, and I get a lot of my voiceover friends to come in and do some really fun acting on some spooky, eerie scripts.
Ooh, I'll have to be on it someday, maybe when I'm a little bit, up there in the business and stuff.
You'll
like
make
that.
it. I'll keep tabs on you.
Alright, so see you guys at home. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, be kind to yourself, and we'll see you around. Bye.
Till next time.
Cut.